Welcome, curious minds. Today, we're embarking on a fascinating deep dive into a topic that, well, quite literally defines our present and future, the environment and climate change. We've gathered some truly insightful sources, everything from recent reports on our planet's health to some surprising breakthroughs and, critical policy decisions. Our mission really is to unpack the most important nuggets of knowledge from all this diverse material. We want to help you quickly get up to speed on what's happening globally and also right here in India. You'll hear about, everything from the critical health of our polar regions to specific policy shifts and even the unsung heroes working to protect our world.
And what's really striking here is how incredibly interconnected all these issues are. We'll explore not just what is changing, but why it matters directly to you. We're aiming for a comprehensive view, something that cuts through the noise. So get ready for some, frankly, eye-opening facts and maybe some surprising connections.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's take a look at the planet's pulse, starting right at the very top of the world. The 2024 Arctic Report Card by NOAA. Well, it has some pretty stark findings. Imagine the Arctic, a place we've always thought of as this massive carbon sink, now potentially becoming a carbon source.
Wow.
That shift is profoundly worrying.
It really is. The chilling insight here, I think, is that one of Earth's key climate regulators is basically flipping its role. So instead of just absorbing carbon, you've got thawing permafrost, more wildfires like we saw recently in Alaska and Canada. And that means the Arctic is actively releasing carbon dioxide and methane. The report highlights 2024 as the second warmest year since 1900. This isn't just a symptom of warming anymore. It's like a feedback loop that's accelerating it. And that creates these global challenges, coastal flooding, extreme weather all over the world.
And here's a twist many people might not realize.
Yeah.
India isn't just sitting on the sidelines here. Our engagement in Arctic affairs actually goes way back to 1920. We were a signatory to the Svalbard Treaty.
Right, the Svalbard Treaty. And the significance there is it recognized Norway's sovereignty over Svalbard, sure, but it also gave citizens of signatory nations like India equal rights to engage in commercial stuff, research activities, things like that. So that really laid the groundwork for India's long-standing presence. We set up the Himadri Research Base in Norway back in 2008, and then getting observer status in the Arctic Council in 2013 and announcing our own Arctic policy in 2022, it just cements India's role in this, critical region.
Okay, so moving from the science to the legal and political side of things. The question of accountability, it seems to be gaining traction. You have small island nations like Vanuatu really at the forefront, taking their fight directly to the International Court of Justice.
Yeah, and what's really noteworthy there is their bold push for an advisory opinion. They want to know what international law actually says about climate change obligations. And crucially, what are the legal consequences for countries that contribute to climate harm? This case, it came out of a UN General Assembly resolution, and it could profoundly influence future climate negotiations. It could strengthen climate lawsuits, reinforce those demands for climate finance from developed nations. It really shows the UN's growing role in climate justice. And you had a record 97 countries participating, including India, China, the US, a really broad coalition.
Another critical area for global collaboration is land health. I mean, it's fundamental to the planet's well-being, right? The 16th Conference of the Parties, COP T16 of the UN Convention to Combat Desertification, they just wrapped up, focusing on land degradation.
And the numbers are just stark. 40% of agricultural land already damaged, 75% of land globally facing drier conditions. This directly impacts food and water security for millions, maybe billions. And the real insight here isn't just, the economic gain you could get from restoring 150 million hectares, that's huge, potentially $85 billion, uplifting 200 million people. It's that human-driven land degradation. It's not just an ecological crisis. It's a direct threat multiplier. It fuels instability, migration, conflict over resources. That's a hidden cost, far exceeding any potential economic gain, I'd argue.
Wow.
So the conference saw initiatives like Business for Land trying to get corporations involved in sustainable practices. They talked about using MRV systems, that's monitoring, reporting, and verification systems to transparently track restoration progress, keep everyone accountable. And there was $12 billion pledged for drought resilience across 80 nations.
Okay, so as we track these global signals, it's really crucial to understand how they play out on the ground, especially somewhere like India, which is so climatically diverse, so populous. Let's bring our deep dive closer to home now. To begin, let's look at the big picture from the Indian State of Forest Report, the ISSFR, for 2023. That's the assessment of India's forest and tree cover, published every 2 years.
Right. The report states India's total forest and tree cover is about 25.17% of the geographical area. And while there's an overall increase in total forest cover, about 156 square kilometers, the deeper insight, I think, lies in the quality of that cover. You actually see moderately dense forest and open forest areas decreasing while very dense forest increased. So it makes you question the definition of forest cover because it includes things like plantations and orchards.
Yeah.
And yeah, they add to green cover, but they often have much lower biodiversity than natural forests.
There's also notable concern about a decline in forest cover in India's biodiversity-rich northeast. That seems to be due to both natural calamities and, well, human activities. And what really caught my eye is how these global patterns directly impact your daily life, especially the weather. The India Meteorological Department, the IMD, they're predicting a potential La Nina formation by late 2024 or early 2025.
Okay, so La Nina. Looking at the broader implications, La Nina, often called the little girl, is characterized by stronger than usual trade winds. These cool the eastern Pacific. And for India, that typically means an enhanced monsoon.
More rain.
Exactly. Higher flood risks, cooler post-monsoon and winter temperatures, and also increased cyclonic activity in the Indian Ocean. It's a really fascinating contrast to El Nino, which often brings India, less rainfall and higher temperatures.
And we saw the devastating impact of exactly that kind of weather event with Cyclone Fengal late last year, 2024. Even though it was classified as a low-intensity cyclone in terms of wind speeds, it caused huge destruction in Tamil Nadu and Puducherry.
Yeah, the striking thing there is why a so-called low-intensity cyclone caused so much damage. Fengal brought just unprecedented rainfall. Some areas got over 50 centimeters in 24 hours.
Incredible.
It really was. And its nature, it was stationary, slow-moving. That meant prolonged rainfall, which just exacerbated the flooding. But the real takeaway, I think, is that inadequate preparedness, poor urban planning, bad drainage played a massive role. The economic impact was estimated at over 2,000 crore. It really highlights this urgent need for better disaster preparedness, better urban resilience in our cities.
Definitely. Okay, let's turn now to a project that really brings that development versus environment debate into sharp focus. The Ken-Betwa River Linking Project.
Right. This is a really ambitious project. The aim is to transfer surplus water from the Ken River to the Betwa River, covering parts of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, and the promise is huge. Irrigation for over 1 million hectares, drinking water for 6.2 million people, plus power generation. But, and this is a big but, it comes with significant environmental and social concerns. The project involves submerging about 98 square kilometers of the Panna Tiger Reserve.
Wow, in the Tiger Reserve itself.
Yes. Threatening maybe 2 to 3 million trees, endangered species like gharials. Then there are hydrological risks, like is the water availability certain? There are warnings about rainfall deficits because of climate change. And socially, you've got over 6,600 families facing displacement.
So the environmental and social costs, they seem really stark. What's the core argument for why it's necessary? I mean, what are the pro-development points that justify these trade-offs, at least in the eyes of the proponents?
Well, proponents argue it's vital for water security, especially in these drought-prone regions of Bundelkhand. They say it provides much-needed relief to farmers, addresses chronic water scarcity that's plagued the region. They also highlight the power generation benefits, saying it helps India's energy independence. Essentially, the government perspective seems to be that the economic benefits and improved livelihoods for millions outweigh the environmental impacts. And they do propose mitigation measures, like compensatory afforestation, creating new tiger reserves nearby to sort of offset the ecological concerns.
Right. And on that conservation front, India is seeing some progress. There are new tiger reserves being declared, like Radhapani and Madhav National Park in Madhya Pradesh. And actually, an Indian environmentalist, Madhav Gadgil, received UNEP's Lifetime Achievement Award in 2024. That was for his impactful work, including chairing that important panel on the Western Ghats. Okay, now for some maybe slightly surprising facts, and some cutting-edge solutions that show the incredible diversity within environmental topics. Like, have you ever heard of lake effect snow? Or the Santa Ana winds? These are incredibly localized but really powerful weather events.
Oh yeah, fascinating stuff. Imagine like frigid air sweeping over a big, relatively warmer lake. The Great Lakes are the classic example. That temperature difference acts like a conveyor belt. It picks up huge amounts of moisture from the lake, which then chills rapidly as it moves over land and dumps incredibly heavy snow, but only in very specific, localized bands downwind. That's lake effect snow.
So it's all about that temperature contrast.
Exactly. And the Santa Ana winds in Southern California, those are different. They're hot, dry offshore winds, driven by atmospheric pressure differences between, say, the Great Basin and coastal California. As the air descends through mountain ranges, it gets compressed, warms up, dries out, and speeds up, famously contributing to those intense wildfires. They're perfect examples of how local geography and atmospheric mechanics create unique weather. And understanding them is getting more vital, as climate change shifts patterns.
From natural phenomena to human impact. Oil spills are such a stark reminder of environmental vulnerability, like that recent incident in the Kerch Strait, 3,700 tons of low-grade fuel spilled. But the range of solutions being developed to combat this is genuinely impressive.
Oh, absolutely. Oil pollution. The impacts are severe. Immediate wildlife deaths, sure, but also long-term toxicity, bioaccumulation up the food chain. It's nasty stuff. But thankfully, solutions are evolving. You have the traditional things like containment booms, chemical dispersants, but also bioremediation, using specialized microorganisms like India's own oil zappers to basically eat the oil. Even ship design has changed. Double-hulled tankers are standard now to help prevent spills in the first place.
And speaking of innovative solutions, India recently launched nanobubble technology for water purification at the National Zoological Park in Delhi, of all places.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it makes you wonder, how do these ultra-small bubbles, less than 200 nanometers, actually purify water? Well, they seem to work through a few mechanisms. Oxidation and disinfection, for one. They can inactivate microbes by disrupting their cell walls. And they also make tiny suspended solids more buoyant, so they're easier to remove. Pretty clever tech.
It really is. Okay, to wrap up our journey today, let's just take a moment to appreciate some incredible creatures that made recent news. Reminders of the delicate balance of life on Earth.
Yeah, absolutely. First, there's Wisdom, the Laysan albatross. She's the world's oldest known wild bird, now 74 years old, and she just laid an egg.
74. Amazing.
Isn't it? These are incredible long-distance flyers, spend most of their lives out at sea. They are near threatened, though, mainly from plastic pollution and getting caught in fishing gear bycatch. And then, closer to home, the Rowton's free-tailed bat, a rare species, quite large for a bat, known for powerful flight. It was recently spotted at the Yamunam Biodiversity Park in Delhi. Now, these bats are currently listed as data deficient on the IUCN list, meaning we don't know enough about their status, but we do know bats like these are vital. They regulate insect populations, some are pollinators. It's just a powerful reminder of the amazing biodiversity around us and how critical these species are for healthy ecosystems.
What a deep dive this has been. Seriously,
Yeah.
We've covered so much ground. From the melting Arctic to the fight for climate justice, India's changing forests, incredible new water tech. Hopefully, you now have a more comprehensive understanding of some of the most pressing and also just fascinating environmental issues shaping our world.
Indeed. And understanding these intricate connections, between global weather patterns, policy decisions, local impacts, it's just crucial. As you can see, our actions, or sometimes our inactions on one side of the world, can genuinely ripple across the globe. It impacts everything, the air we breathe, the food we eat.
So, what does this all mean for you listening? Well, it means you're now better equipped, hopefully, to understand the headlines, to engage in more informed conversations, and maybe even consider new ways you can contribute to a more sustainable future. And for a final provocative thought, consider this. If we can develop tech to clean water with nanobubbles, if we can understand these complex, localized weather phenomena like lake effect snow, what seemingly insurmountable environmental challenge might be next? What might be just on the cusp of a breakthrough, waiting for, a new perspective or maybe just a collaborative global effort? Something to think about until our next deep dive.